Hi guys, it's Chris, and this is part two of my radical projections for very large companies and how they could be facing a large loss of relevancy coming up very soon. Okay, the first one of those was Apple, and I explained why in the last video. The second is, did you guess who it is? Amazon. Now, what are you talking about, Chris? I hear you cry, you fool. Why Amazon? There are a number of reasons that I would say this, okay? And again, this isn't guaranteed, but it could happen. Like, there's a likelihood it may happen on the consumer side, certainly. So prices have crept back up, right? And, you know, it's no longer the cheapest and most convenient place to get stuff. It's now convenient, but at what price is it convenient? So they've just massively upped their non-recyclable packaging at a time when almost all companies are trying to start moving in the completely opposite direction, right? This is a big problem for me and a number of other people. Prime costs more than ever. It's not tiered. People are getting stuff they don't necessarily need with it. And it's got a very heavy load of particulate and carbon and you know, for deliveries. Algorithms don't seem to work as well as they used to, certainly for me when I'm looking for stuff or I'm, you know, selling stuff or whatever. And, you know, you see these kind of problems with Facebook and algorithms all the time, right? They're not always the best way to do things if you tweak them too much. The other price, which is becoming more and more important, is the representation of humanity. Consumers are really starting to care about this. Other businesses are starting to really care about this. We've all heard reports of warehouses that, you know, got more cooling for robots than they did for humans, or, you know, people needing to pee in bottles or forego basic human decencies to meet demand. But at the same time, I know people working for Amazon who love it and, you know, who like the company and whatever. So there's always going to be, you know, some different aspects. But what's becoming really important to consumers and to other businesses is the overall perception, right, of a company. And in these times when we're starting to focus more and more on bringing the humanity back into business, right, the human aspect of it, a hint of roboticizing people, of making them just components that can easily be discarded, or there's a lack of care or whatever, just a hint of that is a growing factor in how your business is regarded and interfaced with. So millennials give a shit about this, and they are the largest generation now, the biggest amount of consumers and workforce, right? I care about this. I know a lot of you give a shit about this as well, right? I've seen it on LinkedIn, all the stuff you're posting. People are starting to wake up to requiring companies to look after the environment, to look after the people, care inside and care outside, right? Clear ethics, clear accountability. All of this is starting to battle convenience and cost. People will happily pay a little bit more for something they know is renewable or sustainable, right? People will happily wait another couple of days for stuff now to arrive. So this is something that's really important. What could Amazon do on the consumer side to combat this? Well, they could maybe subsidize electric delivery, you know, vehicle fleets or whatever. Definitely bring a focus back onto humanity in business for consumers and for workforce. You know, certainly, perhaps, I don't know, coordinate prime deliveries for areas, right, so that they all go out at the same time and they're efficiently delivered. You know, I'm not an expert in logistics. I'm sure some of you will be able to say, okay, maybe that won't work, and here's why. I'm just throwing stuff out there, right? Investing in widely biodegradable everything to do with packaging and whatever else be a huge step forward, right? So my article on innovation and sowing the seeds of disruption, link is up there. It goes into a lot more detail of this. You know, go and have a read. In there I talk about market life cycles, orthodoxies, dominant apex predators, that kind of thing. But dominant apex predators like these companies are prey to themselves. They're prey to being too big, too competent. It's called competency-induced failure, right? Where you're so big and you dominate and dictate the market so much that you don't notice the weak signals which are telling you that things are going to change, the market is going to change. And if you don't detect those and the market changes, as it inevitably will, you will no longer be so relevant, right? This happened to IBM and they gave way to Microsoft, and it happened to Microsoft and they gave way to Apple. It's happening to Apple now, and I genuinely think it's going to start happening to Amazon, and it could well happen to Facebook as well, right? So with the additional complexity of the fourth industrial revolution, possibly the sixth now, right? Talk about that in another place. AI and the supporting technologies around that, we talk about that elsewhere as well. That's all burgeoning, and we're starting to lose touch with, how we engage new generations of workforce and consumers, because it's a different generation. Those real drivers that they have, Apple and Amazon could be next, unless they can adapt or repurpose themselves, right? So, because adapting isn't fast enough anymore. It's an interesting exploration. Watch this space. Please tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think of all this? Leave it in the comments below. Really interested to see what you think. So, until next time, thanks for watching and take care out there.